Hey Ronnie. Hi Bobby. Oi, Ronnie. No, Ronnie, I'm supposed to be going on a virtual journey. Ronnie, you can't be over here playing with me when I'm supposed to get on the virtual bus with all of my travellers. You want to just say hello to them? And then your mommy can take you and do something with you? Yeah? Seriously? Oi, Ronnie, what are you doing? Hi folks, I'll be with you on the journey in just a moment. I'm just going to give Ronnie to her mom, my daughter Maya, and then we'll continue. Here, Maya, take her.
You say hello to the video? Hello!
So I've learned a lot even after just the first 2 days of our virtual journey from people who've given me feedback. So let me start by saying thank you to you for a few things. First of all, for those of you who have actually put some money into this virtual journey, thank you very much. And equally, for those of you who have said wonderful things, who've fed back, who've said this is what you need to do to improve, or who have said, even just said thank you for taking us on this journey during these difficult times, you can't believe just how much that means to me. So I want to start off by reading something that was sent to me by very, very close friends in Birmingham, Alabama, with whom I've traveled on a number of journeys in Israel, journey to Europe, journey to South Africa. And I thought it might be appropriate to start with this, and some of you have probably already seen this on the internet today. And it's called Pandemic, and it's written by Lynn Ungar, just a day or two ago. What have you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling, give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life, center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. So today is March 16th. Today I was supposed to be standing very near my hotel in Athens together with the folks from Beth Am in Palo Alto. And around about this time of the evening, we would have been on our way to our opening dinner in a restaurant on 27 Minisklios Street, and forgive me any of you who speak Greek for the pronunciation. On the menu would have been cheese croquettes, spinach pie, zucchini balls, tzatziki, eggplant salad, and traditional Greek salad. We would have then moved on to roast lamb and roast potatoes, and for the vegetarians, vegetable moussaka. We would have ended with a selection of fresh fruit or traditional Greek sweets, and we would have had mineral water, coffee or tea, and of course, a glass of red wine or white wine. Why am I sharing all of that? Because this is what I would be doing with over 40 of you this evening in Athens. And I'm talking about this because of feedback. One of you, my dear friend Diana, who has traveled on a number of the Beth Am journeys in the past, asked me to relate to the journey in Greece. So I thought I would relate to just a few tiny pieces of the journey. And I wanted to relate to the fact that we would have visited 3 synagogues in small, well, not small towns, but in towns in 2 of them with tiny Jewish communities, remnants of the once greater communities that existed in these towns. And in one community, we would have visited just a synagogue looked after by a lovely, lovely Gentile woman who feels that it's her responsibility. The first synagogue we would have visited outside of Athens would have been in Yanina. It's looked after by Allegra Matza, who looks after it for really the most powerful reason imaginable. She looks after it because her late father was once the president of the synagogue. And in his honor and memory, she still looks after the synagogue. How did the synagogue survive the war, you might ask? Because of a wonderful local Gentile who was mayor of the city at the time and persuaded the Germans that this was a great venue for a local library. By the way, the mayor of this town today is the only Jewish mayor that has been elected since the war, since the Second World War, to run a major town in Greece. There are 34 Jews in Ioannina, and one of them is the mayor. A day later, we would have continued to the little town of Volos. The little town of Volos, we would have visited the synagogue. For me, I've done this many times with Menachem, one of the local people, a sweet, gentle, retired school teacher who sees it as a labor of love to continue looking after the synagogue for himself and for the remnant of the community. By the way, right close to both this synagogue and the one in Ioannina is, of course, tragically, the monument to those who were sent to their deaths, both from Ioannina and in Volos. The third synagogue we would have visited outside, of course, of the big city of Salonika, which I will talk about in a moment, would be in Veria. Veria, there's a lovely woman who looks after it, who does this really as a labor of love. A feeling of responsibility that Evie has for that Jewish community which no longer exists, but who once prayed on a daily basis in the synagogue in Veria. For those of you, by the way, those of you who are amongst my Christian journeyers, you might recognize Veria as one of the crucial places that Paul goes to spread the gospel. But I want to end up today's journey, and it's going to be a shorter journey because one of the other bits of feedback that I got was maybe the journeys are a little bit long in terms of a single video viewing. I want to end up with one of the most powerful parts of the visit to Saloniki. Saloniki, by the way, is a place that many, many people around the Jewish world, especially in North America, are largely unaware of. It's not one of those great centers of Ashkenazi Judaism that was wiped out in Europe. In fact, it was a great center of Sephardi Judaism that was almost totally wiped out in Europe during the Second World War. The Jews of Saloniki arrived largely as a result of the decision to expel the Jews from Spain in 1492. And at one point, the Jews made up over 50% of the population of Saloniki. Why is it relatively unknown in the West, amongst Jews in the West? Because it's not a big Ashkenazi story. Why is it so well known in Israel, you might ask? And the truth is, it's so well known in Israel because of one individual. And that individual is a very significant singer on the music scene in Israel. And his name is Yehuda Poliker. I want to read a very moving description, and I apologize for the English. I translated it loosely from an article in a Hebrew newspaper which describes Yehuda Poliker's second visit to Saloniki. This second visit, by the way, was made 9 years after the first visit he made. On the first visit he made, he collapsed on the first night he was in Saloniki, finding it impossible to be in a town with such terrible, burdensome memories, not for himself personally, but for the family that he grew up in. And as many of you are, of course, aware, if you grow up in a family with this type of memory, with these types of burdens, it is often transmitted to the next generation. And for the next generation, it is as if in some way they carry the same painful memories. So this is what was written in the newspaper, and once again, excuse my translation. It was not only a journey following the roots of Leonidas Polikaris, whose entire family perished in the Holocaust with only his father surviving with him, who immigrated to Israel but whose heart remained in Saloniki until his death. This was also an act of tikkun by Yehuda Poliker, who first arrived in Saloniki in 2009, but his soul could not bear the pain, sorrow and longing, and on that first night, after vomiting his heart out, he made his way back to Athens. Poliker's father, Jaco, never returned to Greece. When he made the record My Eyes, Polycar was about to make a journey to Greece together with Jacob Gilad, his good friend and partner in life, to film himself singing against the backdrop of peraseis. His father begged him not to go. The memories of a happy childhood interrupted by the railway station of Saloniki surfaced, and with them the anxieties. Do not go, he begged. It's not good. Polycar suggested that his father join him. The father refused. Be sure they should not call you Judah there, he pleaded, for them Judah crucified Jesus. Be careful. To this day, Polycar says, I'm not going alone to Greece. I'm not quiet. I'm afraid, because everywhere there is a Holocaust, and I grew up in a concentration camp with imaginary barbed wire fences. The concentration camp where Judah grew up is in his parents' home in Kiryat Chaim, near Haifa. And not only is Greece the place he does not travel to alone, Polycar never went anywhere alone. At 67, his dream is to be able to take a backpack and go somewhere on his own. Where? It does not really matter. Perhaps Australia. The main thing is to be able to cross the departure hall by himself, hold his passport and the flight ticket, and board the plane. Alone, without anyone leading him through the long corridors and taking the simple route on the way to the plane, which Polycar experiences as a minefield. I'm afraid I'll get lost, he says frankly. In general, the challenge is to return to the place where his father was born and raised, and from which he went on a train to Poland with his wife and little son to return after liberation and to discover that he was left alone. Experienced anti-Semitism, even on the ship, to the land of Israel. There was not a moment during those 4 days when Polycar's loyal companions were not afraid of him breaking down, that his tormented soul might not be able to bear the burden. The worried eyes of Mickey Verdon, his personal assistant and soulmate, and of Oren Gurevich, his agent and manager, did not leave him for a moment. Alert to his expressions, attentive to his needs, rushing to satisfy all his desires, simple yet intense. Polycar traveled like a little boy, because that's Polycar, this great man, this gifted musician who introduced Greek music to the Israeli public and brought to their consciousness the Holocaust of Saloniki Jewry, is first of all a child, sweet, generous and kind and good-looking, a frightened little boy with a gaping hole in his stomach that will never be filled, no matter how much warmth, love, recognition and admiration he will receive. A child who constantly needs someone to take him, holding his hand, to take care of all that is necessary, to calm his fears, to ease his anxieties, and especially to be with him. In Verdon's handbag there is everything any orderly and responsible parent takes when he walks with a child. Wet cloths for cleaning, perfume for disinfecting or sniffing if someone loses consciousness, pills and medicines of all kinds and colours for any purpose and in any case, and all that is needed for first aid. Fortunately for Polycar, you cannot help doing all this for him. In seconds you are sucked into his magic, which also includes quite a headache. To be angry with him is like being angry with a small child, possible but ineffective. Everyone in his presence immediately understands that the profit is far greater than the nuisance, and that the pleasure is immeasurably greater than the effort. Soon you're ready to take his hand in your hand and lead him wherever he wants to go. Sima Kadmon, Yediot Achronot, 2017. This was a long piece to read to you, but on the journeys that I take, I do sometimes stop to read something which I think is really important to read. Where would I read this to you? Where will I read it to you when you come on the journey with me to Saloniki? There's only one place where it's possible to read this. And the only place where it's possible to read this is the old railway siding in Saloniki. At this point, there's a major change happening in Saloniki. The part of the waterfront which leads down to the old railway station is in fact going to be turned into a memorial a museum which tells the story of the tragic story of the Jews of Saloniki, and hopefully also the wonderful, powerful, happy story of the good years of the Jews of Saloniki. Will this happen in the way that we might want it? Hopefully. Will they struggle possibly with the terrible scourge of current anti-Semitic attacks on Jewish monuments and memorials in Saloniki? I'm afraid that also might be the reality. Folks, I want to end today's little departure to Greece on our virtual journey, which I am doing for you, Diana, and the other members of Beth Am, who are supposed to be standing together with me right now, looking up at that gorgeous, unforgettable sight, the Acropolis at night, lit up in the most extraordinary way. That's what our eyes were supposed to be seeing right now. That is what our eyes will see at some time in the future. All of you, and hopefully many more. I want to end with with a song in the background. I'm going to read to you one of the most beautiful pieces of poetry written by Poliker and by his partner Yaakov Gilad and set to music. A spring day, the smell of lilac among the ruins of your city. A beautiful day, let's fish in the river. Inside, my heart breaks. There was a name, and it is gone. Your childhood, a little woman people nobody knows. There's not even a house to mention. And if you go, where are you going? Eternity is just ashes and dust. Where are you going? Where are you going? Years and nothing has been erased. Take a coat, you will be cold. Pocket money, a sugar crystal if the days become hard. Remember me sometimes. And if this is another desperate journey to the hut, to the plot, on the old city rail, no one will wait at the station. And if you go, where are you going? Eternity is just ashes and dust. Where are you going? Where are you going? Years and nothing has been erased. Who will sweeten your nights? Who will listen to your crying? Who will mind the footsteps on your way? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Eternity is just ashes and dust. Where are you going? Where are you going? Years and nothing has been erased. Take a coat. You will be cold. Folks, quite a tough note to end this third of our virtual journeys together. I understand from my daughter Maya that it isn't shorter than the previous two journeys. What can I say? I'm accused sometimes of talking too much, but I have to say when there are things that I really care about and which I think are so important for us to talk about and hear and see and try and understand and to prepare us to do the work to make sure that this world is never filled with this type of hate again. What can I say? I probably talk too much. See you again soon.
el hamidra